Little girl wrote to Santa at the corner office. The widowed CEO knocked on their door. It was the week before Christmas in a small town nestled beneath the snow-covered hills of New Hampshire. The streets shimmered with lights, shop windows glowed with wreaths and ribbon, and the air carried hints of pine and cinnamon. But in a crumbling apartment above a laundromat, Christmas felt far away. 6-year-old Ellie sat cross-legged on a worn carpet, tongue between her lips, gripping a red crayon. Her golden curls bounced as she carefully wrote, each letter larger than the last. "Dear Santa at the corner office," she began. She had overheard someone say that powerful people, people who could really fix things, worked in corner offices. And if Santa was real, surely he had one too. Her mother, Clara, moved quietly in the small kitchen. Her blonde hair was pulled into a messy bun, loose strands framing a tired but kind face. The sleeves of her uniform were dusted with flour from her early morning bakery shift. She hummed under her breath, not realizing her voice shook from exhaustion. The radiator had broken again. A space heater buzzed near the window, barely holding off the cold. On the table sat unopened bills, rent, heating oil, and a warning notice from the landlord. Clara glanced over. "Sweetheart, who are you writing to?" Ellie looked up, eyes bright. "To Santa, but not the North Pole one. This one works in a corner office. Maybe he knows more." Clara chuckled softly, though it was tinged with sadness. "Let me know if he writes back." That night, Ellie folded the letter carefully, slipped it into an envelope, and scribbled across the front, "Santa at the corner office, important." The next morning, she dropped it into the large green mailbox outside the bakery, not knowing it was for company mail only. 3 blocks away, in a sleek glass building laced with ivy, the offices of Halridge Estates buzzed with holiday energy. Staff hurried through meetings, trees glittered in every corner, and the top floor, the corner office, belonged to CEO Graham Halridge. Graham, 42, stood tall in a pressed suit, dark hair graying at the edges. His office overlooked the town, a view he hardly noticed anymore. Since Anna passed, everything felt distant. Even Christmas. That afternoon, during a quarterly meeting with the finance team, an intern entered and handed him a stack of misrouted letters. One envelope stood out, child-sized, handwritten. Graham raised an eyebrow, opened it, and began to read. "Dear Santa at the corner office, I do not want toys. I do not even want candy. I just want a house where my mommy can stop crying. We try to be good. She works a lot and always gives me the last toast even when she is hungry. I want her to have warm feet again and to smile when she sleeps. If you are real, can you help? Love, Ellie, I am 6. The room fell away. Graham froze, the meeting around him blurring into background noise. He read it again. Then again. He pictured a small girl with sunlit curls and a weary mother giving the last bite of food to her child. "Graham?" one of the managers said, noticing his silence. He waved a hand. "Give me a moment." He stood, walked to the window, and held the letter gently between his fingers. It had been 3 years since Anna, 3 years since he sat beside her in the hospital as her body failed. Before the cancer, they had begun preparing to adopt a girl, around 6, with curly blonde hair. Anna had knitted a sweater for her. It still sat, untouched, in a drawer by the window seat. He had buried that part of himself. Until now. Ellie's letter didn't just stir memories. It broke something open. Not because she resembled the daughter they never had, but because her words held a purity no adult ever dared speak. A letter, misdelivered. Or maybe not. He looked again at the trembling handwriting. "Can you help?" He whispered into the stillness. "Maybe I can." The evening after the meeting, Graham sat alone in his office long after everyone had gone. Outside, the sky had turned the color of pewter, snow falling in slow, silent spirals. On his desk lay Ellie's letter, its edges worn from being opened and read too many times. He leaned back, closed his eyes, and, for the first time in years, let the memories come. Anna had always been the brighter half of their life together. Her hair was pale, blonde, like winter sunlight, and her laugh could fill a room. She painted in soft pastels, baked lopsided birthday cakes, and danced barefoot in the kitchen on weekends. She found joy in the cracks of ordinary life. She had wanted a child with a tenderness that moved him. "Maybe she'll have curls," Anna would whisper, curled beside him on the couch. "Golden curls that shine like yours." "My hair's not golden," he'd joke. "Then she'll get mine," she'd grin. "A little girl with bright blonde hair. I can see her already." But nature had other plans. After 2 failed fertility treatments, they turned to adoption. They filled out forms, sat through parenting classes, and finally got approved. One day, the agency showed them a file. Inside was a photo of a girl, no older than 5, with soft curls and a hesitant smile. Anna cried the moment she saw it. "She's the one, Graham. I know it." In the weeks that followed, Anna began knitting a pale yellow sweater with tiny white star-shaped buttons. She worked on it during chemo sessions, her hands steady even when her strength wasn't. On good days, she hummed while the yarn slipped through her fingers. On bad days, she barely spoke, but the sweater grew, stitch by stitch. "She'll wear this when she comes home," she said once, her voice faint but sure. Graham didn't point out how her hands trembled. As Anna's condition worsened, so did the timeline. The agency eventually called. They would have to place the child with another family. They were kind, but clear. They needed stability. They understood the situation. Anna didn't argue. She simply held the unfinished sweater to her chest that night and wept until morning. 3 months later, she was gone. After her death, Graham became mechanical. He rose early, buried himself in meetings and numbers, handled everything. Work didn't ask him to feel. That was the appeal. He stopped going to parks, skipped family holidays, ignored birthdays. Anything involving children was off limits. The house stayed immaculate, like a museum curated by grief. But he never got rid of the yellow sweater. It remained neatly folded in the bottom drawer of the window seat in his room, untouched, but never forgotten. Sometimes, when the silence got too heavy, he would open the drawer and look at it. He never took it out, just looked, then closed the drawer before the ache could rise too far. Now, in his office, the city asleep beneath fresh snow, Graham reached into his coat pocket and pulled out Ellie's letter once more. He traced the crooked lines with his fingertips, the simplicity, the hope, the rawness. She hadn't asked for toys or candy, just a house, so her mother could stop crying. That small, honest plea cracked something in him. A warmth stirred in a place long shut tight. He clutched the letter to his chest and leaned forward, breath catching. His shoulders began to shake. He tried to breathe through it, but he couldn't. For the first time since Anna's passing, tears rose. One fell, then another. He covered his face with his hands as a sob broke loose, deep, rough, pulled from a place long hidden. The little girl's letter blurred behind his tears. She didn't know him. She hadn't even meant for the letter to land where it did. But somehow, her words, those unguarded, childlike hopes, had reached straight into the coldest part of him, and they had woken something up. Something he didn't know still lived, and he could not, would not, ignore it. The next morning, Graham walked into the office earlier than usual. He carried no briefcase, no tablet, only Ellie's letter, folded carefully in the inside pocket of his coat. His assistant, Lena, was already at her desk, sipping coffee and scanning emails. She glanced up, startled. "You are never in before me," she said, raising an eyebrow. "Is something wrong?" "I need your help," he replied, placing the letter on her desk. "I need to find the girl who wrote this." Lena picked up the envelope and read the letter silently. Her expression softened as she reached the last line. "Do we know anything else?" she asked. "Only this," he said, pointing to a faint pencil scrawl on the envelope. A partial return address, a street name, no number, no city, but it is local. I need you to find them. The child, the mother, both. Lena hesitated. Should I go through the agency we used before? No, Graham said quietly. This is personal. She asked no further questions. By afternoon, she returned to his office with a printed sheet and a knowing look. There is one apartment building on that street. Unit 4B, she said. Rented to Clara Winslow, single mother. Works night shifts at the bakery on Main Street. Daughter's name is Eleanor Winslow. Goes by Ellie, 6 years old. Graham stared at the name, running a thumb along the edge of the paper. Would you like me to call her? Lena asked. He stood. No, I will go myself. Clara was sweeping the entryway of their tiny apartment when a knock sounded, firm, polite, unfamiliar. She wiped her hands on her apron and opened the door cautiously. A tall man stood in the hallway, dressed in a charcoal coat, December wind still clinging to his shoulders. He looked utterly out of place in the dim corridor. Miss Winslow? He asked. She nodded, guarded. Yes? My name is Graham Halridge. He hesitated, clearing his throat,